Brother Nashi, please hide my name from the people. I am a woman who comes from a very good, God-fearing home. I do come from Eastern Cape. My father, he was a deacon. My mother, she was a prayer warrior. I grew up knowing nothing but the Bible. I only started dating when I was in college because out of peer pressure, after I had told my friends that I had never dated a guy before, and they forced me to accept the proposal of a man who became my husband, since he was the only man that I had ever been with in my life. The Bible, that was all that I knew. It was the only book that I read apart from the school books that I would read after I would have returned back from school. I never liked sangomas. I never liked traditional stuff, even to wear traditional African beads. I felt as if they were just demonic. I'm so confused right now. I had never stepped foot in a sangoma's yard. Neither had I ever seen my grandmother, my grandfather, who were also elders at the church. I was a happy woman, and I ended up getting a job. I got a job at a retail store. I was so proud of myself, even though working at this retail store, I was overqualified. But in our church, we were trained to always appreciate the little things that God would have given to us. I later had a son with my husband. My son, he was my pride, he was my joy. He was my only son, whom I'll call Wongani. He grew up into a boy that I loved very much. Problems began when he was 8 years old. He was once a very bright boy whom I used to see every time when I would have returned back from work playing with his age mates. They would be playing in the streets. But things started to happen that I could not understand. He kept on staying indoors. It seemed as if he did not enjoy to be out in the streets like the way that he used to. When his friends would come, my son would even ask me to lie to his friends that he was not at home. This was quite surprising for a boy of his age, because all that they want to do is to go and play and play and play. So my son, he stopped even responding to his name. He stopped even smiling. When you would speak with him, he would only say one word. It started to eat me quite a lot when he said that he did not want to eat. You know what he only ate? He would ask me to cook those frozen mixed vegetables, put it in a small bowl. That was all that he was eating. A boy of his age, this was quite surprising, because I expected him to eat quite a lot. And when he would have gone to school, when he will come back, sometimes I would see that he has been bullied. I changed schools, thinking that maybe the schools where I used to take him, those were the schools that had a problem of bullying. But each and every school where I would take him to, he was always being bullied. He would lock himself up in his room and he would refuse to come out of the room. One night, I can say that is the night when we started to have spiritual attacks in our house. When the terror started, it was like a horror movie. Eskom had decided to give us load shedding. We were sitting in the dark, me and my husband. We were just lying in bed in the dark when I heard a sound. I heard a sound as if my son was busy scratching the tiles. It was so boring, so much that I woke up. I was angry, holding a belt. I wanted to go and threaten him so that he can go to bed and stop doing that scratching sound that he was doing. And he told me that it was not him. I even shouted at him and I said, "You are lying. You are lying to me, and I don't like it when you lie to me." He told me that this sound, it was coming from underneath the bed. I then switched on the torch on my phone and I looked and I did not see anything. Since there was no electricity, I thought that maybe he was scared, and I took him with me to the bedroom. Since the load shedding was going to end in about 30 minutes, he sat on the couch, which is in my bedroom, and he kept on saying that he felt as if there was something that was underneath the bed in his room, and he was afraid to go back to his room. I let him sleep on the couch, thinking that maybe he was just a child who was afraid of the dark. To make him feel better, and I thought that maybe it was a rat, because during the night I felt as if there was something that was moving in the ceiling. So when I went to work, when I was returning back, I bought some poison and I said, tonight you are sleeping with us again in our bedroom. And I put the poison underneath the bed. This poison, I would put it every day, and the scratching of the rat, it became louder and louder. Even in our own bedroom, we would hear this loud sound of the rat as it was chewing things. But when we would go and check, you won't see anything that this rat was busy chewing. The poison that I would put, I would remove it. The rat would not even touch it. We would even put 2 tomatoes, one with poison inside and another one with nothing. The rat, it would eat that tomato which did not have any poison. This sound, it became louder and louder, and it started to sound so weird, as if it was not a sound that was produced by a small animal. It sounded as if it was a big man that was in our ceiling trying to remove the wood that was in the ceiling. So my son started screaming in his sleep. He would wake up and he would scream so loud, so much that it was so scary. He would cry and he would say, "Mama, Mama, there is a man." And we would ask him, "Where is the man, my son?" And my son will say, "This man, he is standing there. Look, he's standing there. He's saying that he wants to kill me. He wants to take my heart so that he can make me to become a Togoloshi." When I would look with my husband, we would see nothing. We even shifted from the bedroom because my son was afraid of sleeping in the bedroom. The only place where my son wanted to sleep was in the kitchen. So you can imagine. And me and my husband, we knew that there was something that was wrong with what was happening. My heart was breaking for my boy. He was losing weight because he was not eating. He was only eating the frozen mixed veggies. Sometimes he would even eat them without cooking them first. I did what I was taught to do by my mother and my father. I went to my pastor. I had been a member of the church for a very long time. And when I was now working in another province, I just started going to that same church. They even gave me a transfer letter from the province where I come from. That is how serious I was about praying. I never missed any church date. Me and my husband, we paid tithe, even if I had only 10 rand left for bread. The pastor came to my house the next day and he prayed for me, he prayed for my husband, and he prayed for my son. He said that other people from the church, they were going to come so that they can pray for our house, but nothing worked. They would shout, they would pray, they would spray holy water in every corner. He told me that this was just a demon of fear. There was no demon as such, but it was just fear that had entered into our hearts because of the spiritual happenings that had been happening in our house. And he told us to always scream, "The blood of Jesus will conquer all, for the blood of Jesus is against this demon of fear." We would pray 3-4 hours. I would feel hopeful and I would say, yes, God has fixed everything. But at night, as soon as the sun went down, the scratching will come back. It would scratch and scratch and scratch. And it felt like something was trying to break through the floor from underneath the house. As for my son, it was as if he saw things that we could not see, because he will keep on looking even at the walls. When we would ask him what was it that he was seeing, then he will start to scream, looking at us as if we were Togoloshis, the way that he was afraid of me and his father. His fever, it will just hit him. I don't know how many times we would call the ambulance when my son will start shaking as if he was about to die. Whenever I would call the pastor will tell me to pray. The church members will come to our house the next day. They would pray, but nothing was happening. I felt so alone. I would take my son to the hospital. hospital after hospital. The doctors will take blood tests. They would look at him and they will say, your boy is healthy. He is not eating very well. He needs to eat. They would give me vitamins and they would tell me to buy vitamins as well so that my son, he can be okay. And when he would get hurt, it would take a very long time for my son to heal. It was because he did not have enough vitamins in his body. This was what we were told by one doctor, but it was not working. When we would force my son to eat, he would vomit everything. And after he would have vomited, he would try to eat his own vomit. It was so scary and it was so heartbreaking as a parent to see your son slowly losing his mind. I would go to work after I would have stayed awake the rest of the night and still I had to go to work. And I would feel like I am crazy. When you do not get enough sleep, you start to hear voices, you start to see things that are not even there. That was when I spoke with one woman. This woman, she was working in another department. We spoke and I told him what I was going through. And then she referred me to a Sangoma. I said, I can't go to a Sangoma because in my church, it is not allowed, because I was taught that every Sangoma is like a Satanist because they speak with demonic forces. They lie to you that they are speaking with your ancestors, but they are not your ancestors. They are just demonic forces that they are communicating with. This woman, she then asked me how long I would continue crying because of what was happening to my son. I was supposed to take matters into my own hands, and she referred me to the Sangoma. I went to a South African Sangoma who tried to cleanse me 4,000 rands down the line. Then my son was not okay. She then told me that my son could only be cured by a Sangoma whom she knew. This was a Sangoma that came from Zim. I said, are you for real that this can work? She said, yes, those people that come from Zim, they can assist you and assist your son. So even though I was a Christian, I ended up going to this man who was from Zim. This man, he assisted me. He was staying in a back room in this other location. I felt so scared when I was in his consultation room, because as for that other South African Sangoma, she did not have any scary stuff that was in her consultation room. But this Zim Sangoma, he even had a skull that he would pour blood inside of it and look at it and say he was going to assist me. He said that he wanted money. I returned back home and I spoke with my husband about the money that was needed. Me and my husband, we then borrowed money from the bank. Because this man, he had said that he wanted 10K, and this Sangoma, he had so much money. And what made me and my husband to give him the money, it was because we saw a lot of South Africans that were there, some that owned taxis, and we just said, with the way that we are not rich, look at all of these people. Do you think that they are being scammed by this Sangoma? If they are giving their own testimonies, because as we were sitting in line, some of them told us that when they started consulting with this Sangoma, they did not have children. Some of them, they had taxis that were always having accidents. So we trusted that this man, he was going to assist us. We took the money, we gave it to him. My son, he started to be okay. But what I started to notice was that after my son would have been okay, maybe for about 3 to 4 months, then the sickness will come back and it will be more than the way that he was sick. And me and my husband, even though we were not rich, we had managed to buy a Baki, a Toyota Hilux, which was a double cab that we had. It was still okay for this car. We had bought it from a white man that my husband had worked for once. And this traditional healer, he then said that he wanted us to give him that car so that he can cure our son completely. After we had changed the ownership of the car, he promised us that he was going to come to our house so that he can put some of the things that were going to block whatever tokoloshi that was coming to hound our son, and all of the spiritual warfare that was happening. It was all going to end after we would have changed the ownership of the car. This bakkie that I'm talking about, it was still brand new. It had less than 100,000 kilometers. Just that what had happened was that these white people, they had lost their son in a terrible accident, and they just wanted to leave South Africa and to go to Australia, and they ended up selling this bakkie to ours, and we lost it, Brother Nashim. This man, the only money that he paid, it was money that he had to pay so that they can process his papers. When we were at the traffic department, there was a long queue, and they said that he was in a rush. He was in a rush and he did not want to stay in the line for a very long time. So we had to pay money for the bribe so that the ownership can be done quickly. And we did everything without even standing in queue. After he had gotten the papers for the car, he then said that he just wanted to do something. He wanted to go and get some muti in his country, but he had changed because he said, after changing, I am going with you to your house. I'm going to catch that tokoloshi. He said that this tokoloshi that was in our house, it was very powerful. He wanted to go and strengthen himself because he felt as if his power, it was no longer that much, and he was afraid that he was going to get killed by the tokoloshi. We allowed him to go, and that was the last that we heard of him. The phone numbers that he was using, it has been years. The phone numbers, I keep on trying them and they are not even working. My son is still sick to this very day. He shouts that he sees things in his dream in his room. My son sleeps in the kitchen. He does not eat very well. He is losing weight. I am here. The problem that I was facing, I thought that I would get a solution from a Sangoma, but I did not get any solution. Rather, what happened was that I made the situation to become even worse. Whenever I see a Sangoma, sometimes I feel like I want to cry. I even went back to that Sangoma who gave me link to this Zimbabwean Sangoma, but then she said, it is only you. I have a lot of people that went there with their children that were mentally ill. Maybe you and your husband, you did some rituals to get money and you felt you need to speak the truth, but we never did such a thing. I just want to warn other people, you need to be very careful. The moment that you start to go to this Sangoma, just know that you are playing in devil's territory and anything can happen, and there is no one whom you are going to blame. I wish that I had just stayed praying to God and God was going to change the situation eventually, but I wanted something that was quick. Sometimes I blame myself, but my husband, he says it happens in life. There was nothing that we could have done. This Sangoma, he just stole our car and he never came to our house. We once spoke with another man that was from Zim that we met, and he said that this Sangoma is dead, but I don't think that he is dead. He just told people whom we had seen at that shrine that he is dead because he just sold our car and he went to his country. Dear listeners, right, there was a message that was sent to me by one of our dear sister. Let us speak with him in the comment section. Strange things indeed they do happen in this world.